So a strong, glorious, powerful evening. Well, this is the third video about Oreshnik, the very one that was used to strike Kiev, or rather Bila Tserkva. And again about the consequences. I talked about how they were planning to strike, then about how I filmed at night when they struck, and now it's about the consequences, when a lot of information has already been gathered. And I have to say, the information is extremely interesting, although many people don't believe it, but this is also our business. Let's get down to business, or rather, let's take a look. First, let's look at what's in the Ukrainian media. A massive strike by Russia on the Kyiv region, deaths, dozens wounded, and the Oreshnik missile. On the night of May 24, the Russian army carried out one of the most massive strikes. 2 people died in the capital, and then the number of injured reached 56. This was reported by Klitschko. Well, wherever they are, let them recover, without any sarcasm, of course. Then they talk about the total number of all these missiles. 1 ballistic missile, that's Oreshnik, 2 aero-ballistic missiles, Kinjal, 3 anti-ship missiles, a lot of different things. And I roughly calculated with the help of ChatGPT how much, more or less, of course no one knows the exact cost of the missiles, but based on various estimates how much this salvo cost in total. If you believe this data, 600 strike UAVs, 54 cruise missiles, Kuk-101 Iskander ballistic missiles and Oreshnik, then look at the Kuk-101 numbers. Ballistic Iskander missiles and so on, plus Oreshnik, the numbers turn out to be huge, from $300 million up to $1 billion. ChatGPT wouldn't give me a lower figure, no matter how much I pushed it. I checked other sources too to verify, plus or minus again you can't say exactly, but more or less it matches. With that money, in principle, you could have rebuilt several residential blocks in the blocked Bakhmut. I checked again how much that costs, of course, and on the Ukrainian side, huge amounts of money are being spent as well, and it's European taxpayers' money. If all the money that's being spent daily on the war were freed up, so many good things could be done. And you could fly to the moon, rebuild these cities that are now destroyed, and just live like people should, but no, we'll keep fighting and fighting and fighting. And this salvo that was launched, which they originally said would hit Bankova, the island, and so on. They also said it would hit decision-making centers, but it landed anywhere except apparently the actual decision-making centers. You can argue and speculate about this, but for now there are videos and photos, and they're definitely not from the government showing what was actually hit. But, for example, there's a super underground factory here, which... Let's first look at the missile strike, see how it looks. It looks terrifying. So that's what it was like. I have friends in Kyiv who said it was really intense what was happening at night. It wasn't just impossible to sleep, it was impossible to live normally. And now the decision-making centers. There's a video here of a family who recorded the strike, not with Oreshnik but with a ballistic missile on a residential center, and an elite one at that. Here we have a hole in the yard. That's it, it's a disaster. Because this is like shooting right at the spot. Trinity, this is a luxury residential complex. And everyone I've asked says no way, only at decision-making centers. Right there, under residential buildings, decision-making centers are hidden. Under these, and even under schools, decision-making centers are hidden. Everywhere and anywhere. And you'd think, well, there's a hole, so they probably didn't hit it by accident, like many people say in the comments. There are more than 1,000 comments. God, when I read all of that. Well, I just feel ashamed for some of the commenters, just on a human level. Some people ask quite reasonable questions. Respect to those who ask without swearing, without all that, without cruelty. Respect to them. Well, let's take a look at what decision-making centers we have underground. Maybe there used to be a factory here for producing maybe nuclear weapons or some kind of pink flamingos. And here the girl is walking. There's that very hole in the ceiling. The girl is walking through this center.
One blew up and another one burned out there.
It burned out. Apparently this is the underground complex of Yuzmash. There are all kinds of cars here, both expensive and cheap. I wonder if the insurance company pays out. By the way, if anyone has witnessed similar cases, or knows someone, or God forbid, is a victim of something like this, I mean their property. Does the insurance company pay in cases like this? Cars are so expensive now. And if it isn't covered, then the question arises, how can you protect your property in such a situation?
Well, I know. Let me remind you, actually, I don't remember.
Here's that very hole. Sure, you could say this is all staged, but if you put it that way, you could also take the opposite opinion, that the draft office guys are some actors from Mosfilm, and the people they round up are also from Mosfilm. And all of this is apparently staged by Mosfilm, and this here is Kiev, staged by Kiev Nochfilm, if you want to say that this is also a setup.
You understand, right, that this could happen to anyone. This is a disaster, guys.
Yeah, a lot of cars were damaged here, of course, and again, this is an underground parking lot in an elite complex, and it got hit there first.
And this Beamer, too, with fancy license plates. Well, the Beamer got lucky.
Yeah, and there was another strike on a decision-making center even more central right in Bila Tserkva, where the same Oreshnik hit. Here again in the comments we came across the opinion that it's not Oreshnik, but again the Russian authorities said it's Oreshnik, the Ukrainian authorities said it's Oreshnik. If the commenters know better, okay, if any of them have launched Oreshniks and know what all the strikes look like, as far as I know, there are different modifications, and not all of them are made of cast iron, with cast iron blanks that reach supersonic speeds. If a shell like that reached such speeds, again, if it was filled with something else, I don't mean anything radioactive, the results would be different. It wouldn't even make it there with that. In general, we can talk about this in the comments again. Be sure to write what you think about this. So basically here we have a garage complex, a NATO decision-making center. There are elite officers there, and that's exactly what's shown in the video. And this is not staged. By the way, this footage was taken by an ordinary citizen. Well, a center is a center. It's destroyed, really destroyed, of course. Not in the sense that it's good, but in the sense that the destruction is very severe. There's a crater here and everything. It clearly hit really hard. But again, if all this cost up to $1 billion and only a few apartment buildings, parking lots, and this garage complex were destroyed, a lot of questions come up. That's how it is. And what's next? Next, of course, there was an outpouring of outrage. And here it says that I'll show you the photos later. I've collected some photos here. Here's a shopping center. This one on the left is what I already showed you. That's how they're putting out a fire in a residential building. Well, obviously that's a decision-making center. Apparently there's a NATO officer here. Sorry for the dark humor. And then the destruction started. Many people were affected. Here too, NATO officers. Specifically the vehicle. And apparently here as well. And the tennis court, apparently the area where NATO officers used to have fun was also completely destroyed. What did they do in Europe? They responded harshly. Well, as always, they expressed concern. They said that it's not good to do that. They drew another brown line. And this very coalition of all those powerful and lustful, willing, actually, they can't really do anything else because, what can you do? What are you doing? They say Russia's nighttime attack on civilian targets in Ukraine using the ballistic missile Oreshnik provoked a strong reaction from European Union leaders. A shiver just runs through our bones and muscles. After all, these great leaders are dissatisfied. It's some kind of horror. The EU called the Kremlin's actions reckless escalation and a tactic of intimidation. It's important to remember there's mutual escalation happening now. I'm saying it's a cycle of violence, like a wheel of samsara. But here it's just a wheel of violence. Some strike at some, others say, well, now we're going to take revenge. You can see the same thing in the comments again on the channel. We're going to retaliate and we're going to do the same to you. But here you can rephrase, not rephrase, but recall the thought that was expressed by that taxi driver, I think, from New York. No, yeah, from Brother 2, there were people just like people, and then they became what they became. And this happens from many different sides and in many different countries. It's surprising from both sides when people start making jokes about deaths. They start remembering, like, you did this to us and we did that to you and you did this. Oh, right. And then they tell us the following. Russia's massive attack on Ukraine last night demonstrates the cruelty of the Kremlin and its disregard for both human life and peaceful negotiations. Terror against civilians is not strength, it's desperation. It's desperation, declared European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Then Kaja Kallas drew another brown line, stating that the use of the new missile is a tactic of intimidation and a reckless game on the brink of nuclear war. Again, from the European side, I think it was Latvia or Lithuania recently calling, "Let's capture Kaliningrad." Are you guys completely out of your minds over there? Then again, there are responses, this time from the other side, from the Ukrainian side. And here a representative of the military tells us that the SBU struck a station supplying fuel to Moscow. The special operation has already spread to Russia's Vladimir region, he says here. And from this station, I don't know where the stress is placed. One of the key nodes in the system of main oil pipelines of the Russian Federation. The station pumps raw materials, mainly diesel fuel, from oil refineries in the central part of the country to export ports and domestic consumers. The supply of fuel to major oil depots around Moscow depends on it. Well, so it's another infrastructure facility. Then Ukraine also claims that they struck the oil terminal for Russian ships in the past 24 hours. Again, the target was the oil loading dock of the Toma oil and gas terminal in the village of Volna, Krasnodar Krai. There they damaged the oil loading arm. Again, this is one of the key oil and gas export facilities, oil facilities. And here, apparently, the volume of deliveries will decrease significantly in the near future. On top of that, the Ukrainian armed forces struck with drones in the Boris area. In general, drones are flying on both sides. And there is also some not so good news from the other side. Now, about Trump and Iran, which again affects the lives of many of us. It is said that Trump is close to a deal with Iran regarding the Hormuz Strait. The US and Iran are said to be nearing a deal that provides for a 60-day extension of the truce. During this time, it will be like paradise here. The Hormuz Strait will open. Iran will freely sell oil. The parties will sit down at the negotiating table to discuss limiting Iran's nuclear program. And they say the deal could be announced as early as Sunday, so it turns out it should already be announced today. But so far, nothing has appeared in the official or unofficial media. It is said that all this will support the Iranian economy, but at the same time, it eases the situation on the global oil market. It will become easier to breathe, we'll breathe more easily, and life will be wonderful. And apparently, the quality and standard of living for all of us will improve. But that would be good if it were true. And today, Trump wrote already on Sunday, he wrote that sorry, but no, the negotiations are proceeding constructively. I'll show you on Telegram right now. The negotiations are proceeding in an orderly and constructive manner, and I, that is Trump, told my representatives not to rush into making a deal at this time on our side. The blockade will remain fully in force and effect until an agreement is reached, certified, and signed. Both sides should not rush. But it turns out if they don't hurry, then in the near future, no deals will be made, nothing will be signed. And accordingly, oil prices will keep rising, and Trump will continue not to take any part in the peace process or in the negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine will continue to bomb Russia's oil infrastructure. Russia will do the same to Ukraine's energy and, let's say, water and sewage infrastructure. The mutual destruction goes on, and it's especially quote-unquote gratifying, of course, to see commentators who support all of this. And now we... Just like in Mashanya, there was an episode where pensioners were traveling back in the Soviet Union. Ooh, back in the Soviet Union. Oh, well, these commentators look about the same. Nothing good can be seen so far. Well, so against this background, what? Let's take a look at our powerful leaders, because there are quite a few of them by now. Well, look, someone should... Because how can we leave out such powerful thinkers, beacons of thought who bring progress into our lives, yours and mine, and just not mention them at all? Those people want to be heard, and of course we will take a look at them. Who will be the first? Shah. Expert Shah. Which one is that? Shah yelled at the journalist who invited him to her studio and dared to interrupt such greatness. Again, This is an orator for the ages. The golden mouth of Disraeli is nothing compared to the oral skills, speaking skills, I mean, of this character. Let's listen to what he has to say to us.
Yesterday, Mikhail Fedorov shared news about Mikhail.
Fedorov is currently the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, who used to be an IT specialist, developing things like Daya, the reserve, and in general, almost everything.
That Ukraine has developed its own guided aerial bomb. Today, information appears that the Ukrainian guided aerial bomb costs about 3 times less than the American kits.
What a tanned journalist. He probably got tanned somewhere near the front lines, or maybe it's that baseboard behind him or something like that. Not a baseboard, I mean, what's it called? The thing they put down, well, laminate, yes. The laminate casts a similar shadow, but he does look tanned.
So in general, what prospects does the new Ukrainian-made guided aerial bomb open up for our armed forces?
Well, it will bomb. Obviously, it will explode probably, and especially it will blow up the budgets of those who allocate funds for the production of this very weapon.
And we don't have a combat aircraft that could drop 3 tons.
Why did you create the bomb without the aircraft to carry it in the first place? You assembled it, and then it's unclear how you're going to get it into the air. That's logical. I don't know how to react to that. It's like building an aircraft carrier in the Sahara Desert, then realizing there's no way to move it. Let's make this a land island now and give it a name or something. This is crazy. I don't know. It's just funny. Is there anyone else here? Reknikoval? Also a heroic character. This spokesperson obviously tries to look like either a Canadian lumberjack or a character in a shirt with sleeves tied around his torso. And he says all sorts of things.
The war will only end when the Russian Federation, with its current political regimes and its current borders, ceases to exist. Only then will its aggressive claims disappear.
I see. Well, it's clear here. These characters never say anything different. If that's the case, yes, we're all just going to go sink our teeth into the enemy's body now. Then we have another character who, by the way, is the same one, telling us about Melnik, this figure from the 20th century. And he says that the remains need to be reburied urgently. The journalist is sitting in some little room with a nice chandelier, listening attentively. She listens to these words.
The remains of another leader of the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, Andriy Melnik, and his wife were returned to Ukraine for reburial. Why now? Well, why not? In principle, this is a very important topic.
And really, why not? It could be now, it could be later. It doesn't have to be now, but later is fine too.
It's important to bring this to the state level and communicate it clearly so people understand.
But why should this be communicated to people, that some bones will be transported to Ukraine? Please excuse us, of course. But both Ukrainians in Ukraine and Ukrainians outside of Ukraine are not at all concerned about the bones of some person that not everyone even knows about. For example, I just learned about him now. Some Melnik, he did something there a long time ago. I know about some other nationalists. Honestly, I've never heard anything about this one, and frankly, I wouldn't have heard about it if it weren't being talked about now. On every screen. Why are they doing this? Maybe they're trying to cover up the corruption scandal, but you can't hide something like that this way, or maybe it's for another reason. It's impossible to understand.
Why is this important? Because graves can truly be safe only on the territory of Ukraine.
Yeah, great. Well, let's move all the graves to the territory of Ukraine then. As if we don't have enough of our own hectares of fallen officers and soldiers from the war. Let's move other people's graves too. Just brilliant.
Only the Ukrainian state can guarantee preservation. Yeah.
I see. Yeah, especially considering when the graves of unknown soldiers from the Great Patriotic War were desecrated, the guarantee is just top-notch. Well, that's clear, yeah. Then, who do we have next? Here we have this little darling. He makes some kind of cruel statements. He says that, yeah, Putin already has the beginnings of an uprising at 100%.
Or not Putin, do you think a pre-coup situation is developing?
How could he possibly know? I'm curious. Well, really, how? Does he read Pravda newspaper? Does he read Speed Info, Arguments and Facts? What? Where are his sources? Maybe he has some kind of insider information from the top leadership of the Russian Federation. And if not, then what's the point? They could ask me the same thing. What do you think? Is there this or that in Russia? I'll give some opinion and that's it. We'll move on. The main thing is that they pay the fee.
100 and hundreds.
Well, that's it. We believe, we gladly believe, and especially if you open your eyes wide like that, it immediately inspires trust. Just like that.
100%. Believe me, everyone there, the people around are sure they're dissatisfied with what's happening right now. And the only thing there that's a matter of debate for me is how Putin will come out of this alive, because I still predict that he won't come out of this alive. There's a struggle going on. They're criticizing Putin completely.
Yeah.
They're criticizing the authorities and so on and so forth. This means that the signal has come. There are some predetermined agreements.
But where is the criticism? They say there's criticism. Who? When? Can we have names, passwords, addresses? Who is criticizing? Why? For what purpose? What exactly are they criticizing? And all the details that require our attention.
He is 100% sure that we will see changes this year.
Sorry, he's 100% sure. Uncle, sorry, but you are nobody to us, and your name means nothing to us either, to be honest. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, you still need at least some facts. Just because you're sure of something, well, I'm sure I saw a dinosaur yesterday. Yeah, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, it was walking down the street. I'm sure, yes, it was there.
Putin must announce mobilization, showing he's failed. There's no money, support, influence, or authority left. As they say, Aquila missed his mark. He no longer has the ability to hold on to this power. He's not a tough guy anymore. That's it. Now he needs to be replaced. It's true. This is already a foregone conclusion.
Well, if some guy tells his mom that this is 100% fact, then it must be true. Overall, that's all for today. The main point is the consequences with these Oreshnik missiles, with these rockets, and the desire for this to end as soon as possible. Write in the comments if you agree, leave a like or a dislike if you don't like this terrible storytelling from this blogger. Oh my god, I will silently suffer. Well, anyway, have a good rest of your Sunday. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles.
Our main task is to defend the country, create the right conditions, and destroy the enemy, and victory will definitely come. Subtitles.